Section 16.1 is talking about perimeter. If it's a polygon is referring to a two-dimensional shape that is closed and each side is a segment. So for example, a square, the perimeter, is adding up the lengths of all four sides. And since all four sides are going to be the same, we could call the perimeter just 4 times s, where s was the length of one of the sides. A rectangle, the perimeter, is adding up the lengths of all the sides. So 2 of the sides we'll call L, 2 of the sides we'll call W. So 2 times L plus 2 times W is the perimeter. For a triangle, add up the lengths of all the sides. That's the perimeter. It's really what it is for every shape. A regular pentagon, since it's regular, all the sides are the same length. If each one's S, take the length times the number of sides, and that gives you the perimeter. A circle is not a polygon. A circle doesn't have any segments, so it has the special formula for circumference. Also, circumference is a special name for perimeter. In that equation, you could write circumference is pi times diameter, or you could write circumference is 2 times pi times r. Depending on the information you're given, if you're given diameter, use this equation. If you're given radius, use this equation. Number 1, find the missing measurement. We are told the circumference is 9 pi. So we're going to write the equation for circumference, which is 2 times pi times r. I replace c with 9 pi. To get r by itself, I divide both sides by 9 pi. By 2 pi. Pi's cancel. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. Our units is centimeters. The radius is 4.5 centimeters. Number 2, we're given the radius and has to find the diameter. The diameter is always twice as big as the radius. So the diameter is going to be 2 times 16. Therefore, the diameter is 32 centimeters. Number 3. The radius is 3 centimeters. Find the circumference with an exact answer. Circumference is 2 times pi times r. Replace r with 3. An exact answer means we're going to have pi in it. No decimals, no rounding. You could have a decimal, but nothing that's rounded. So the circumference is 6 pi centimeters. Circumference means perimeter, distance around. Number 4, circumference is pi. We're supposed to find the diameter, so I'm going to use circumference is pi times diameter. You could also use 2 times pi times the radius and then solve for the diameter later. I'm just going to use this. Circumference is pi. Divide both sides by pi. To get d by itself, pi divided by pi is 1. Our units is centimeters. The diameter is 1 centimeter. Number 5, determine the perimeter of the given shape. Lines that appear to be perpendicular are perpendicular. Lots of ways you can do this correctly. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this segment, pull it over here. I'm going to take this segment and pull it down here. That makes this perimeter the same as the perimeter of a rectangle, which is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. I'll call L the length and 8 the width. That's going to give me 22 plus 16. It's going to give me 38 centimeters is the perimeter. I shouldn't call this a rectangle because it isn't. We'll call this the perimeter of the figure. Another way that you could have done it, if you don't want to do it that way, doing some work, you could have figured out that this was 2, since those are the same. It makes this 6. So you could have added 11 plus 8 plus 2 plus 2 plus 6, and you still would have got 38. Number 6, if we break this apart, the one thing that we're missing is we don't know what this length is here. So to figure that out, I'm going to draw a segment that is perpendicular to this side. That makes this here a rectangle. So if it's a rectangle, that makes this side 10. If this whole bottom side is 18, and we've used 10 here, that means there's 8 left for the bottom of this triangle. Since this vertical height is 6, that means the vertical distance, the height of the triangle is 6. So we have this right triangle. We can use the Pythagorean Theorem to figure out the length of the radius, or if we recognize this is the Pythagorean triple, this is a 6, 8, 10 right triangle. So the perimeter of this figure, I'm going to add up all the sides. That would be, 6, 10, 10, and 18. In its purest form, perimeter of a polygon, you just add up the lengths of all the sides. So the perimeter of this figure is 44 centimeters. Number 7, we don't have a formula for the perimeter of half a circle, but we can figure this out. So this part here is half a circle. So if we take the formula for circumference, let me start over. The perimeter of this figure is going to be 8 plus, because this part down here is obviously 8, 8 plus half the circumference of the circle. Complete circle would be all of this down here. We just have half of it. Circumference of a circle is pi times diameter. We are told the diameter is 8. Therefore, this is going to be 1/2 plus 4 pi centimeters is the perimeter of this figure. One more thing I want to point out, and that is this formula to find the arc length, which means part of a circle. So like if this is an entire circle, arc length might just be a portion of it. That's going to be theta divided by 360 degrees times circumference, circumference being 2 times pi times r, or pi times diameter. Theta is the central angle. So let's say that, for example, we were given part of a circle, and we were told that this was 60 degrees. We want to define the length of L, this arc length. So the arc length, sorry, I'm having writing problems. That's going to be theta over 360 times 2 times pi times r. Essentially, 2 times pi times r gives us the entire circle. What part of the circle are we using? We're using 60 out of 360. So it'll be 60 divided by 360, let's say the radius was 4, times 2 times pi times 4. 60 out of 360 is 1/6. 2 times 4 is 8. This reduces to 4/3 pi. Let's say their units was centimeter. This kind of problem is the most complicated, and it's going to appear in some places. Please